Welcome to the Talegate podcast with your host, Al Blanton. At Talegate, we celebrate the rich history of sports in the state of Alabama. So come with us as we relive great moments, great games, great players and coaches, and in the process, preserve memories for a lifetime. So you're sitting here, you've won 45 straight. You're 35-0 this year. 3-time state champion in a row. You know, what's going through your mind right now? I mean, are you thinking about number 4, or do you need a mental break? Do you need to go to a tropical island somewhere? I mean, where are you in your headspace?
All of those would be great, for sure. Yeah, you know, there's no break in this business. I mean, you know, you did it. I've been scheduling. So
Yeah.
trying to work. I've got one more game left to go on next year's schedule. But, you know, just the 45 in a row, the 3, I mean, all that's just gratitude for being able to be around this special group of guys.
Yeah.
Not necessarily basketball-wise, just the people that they are and their approach to every single day and the way they showed up.
Yeah.
And, you know, made it easy on us as the coaching staff. We would have to come up with things to kind of fuss at them about.
Yeah.
Because once you tell them something they need to improve on, they would improve on it, and then you had to go nitpicking and find something else to do. So just incredible group of guys, incredible run, just happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a tough profession, and I mean, it's almost like a, you know, what have you done for me lately type thing sometimes, and you want to celebrate it, you want to be thankful, you want to be humble, but then, I mean, you got work to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, it was bittersweet when we walked out of that locker room to see those guys walk out, because, you know, they're not coming back to play again. But we've got a good group coming back, and we've already gone to work as a staff, kind of talking about some things we need to do to try to get them ready to go. And we'll take off until after spring break, and on that Monday after spring break, we'll be right back at it.
Yeah. I told you before we went on that I saw your dad last night, and he was just so complimentary of your players. He said, you know what, they're not going to tear up campus. They're just good kids. How much of a relief is that for you as a coach? And I've done it too. I mean, like, but
yeah,
as a coach, how much of a relief that you got
Well,
good
it
kids?
just makes every day showing up enjoyable.
Yeah.
You know, you've had those teams. We've had good teams here along the way, but when it gets down to that point where it's either win or go home, kind of tired of being around some of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be around this group every day for the rest of my life. I mean, they're here and they do what they're supposed to do, and they take care of business. And like I said, they made the job easy for the coaching staff.
It's really good to know that you got good citizens, you know, on your team too, when you're having that kind of success as well. You know, you've been doing this a long time, man. I mean, you go way back. I mean, you're a veteran. And what adjustments have you made over the last, say, 10 years that have made you a better coach?
Yeah, I mean, we still have a standard, and we still try to hold those guys to that standard. I'm not as, I guess, authoritarian, maybe the word, not, you know, like in your face, like going to make you do it. It's more, hey, this is the standard. If you're not willing to do this, we'll find somebody that will. So I'm a little more laid back. You know, I still talk to a lot of those guys that I coached when I first started coaching, and you know, they appreciated the way I was. I mean, they you know, they still reach out to, even back to my very first job, even back at Atmore. And I was very tough on those guys as a young guy. And, you know, when you're a little younger and you're not a lot of separation in your age, you feel like you got to be a tough guy. I don't necessarily have to be that tough guy anymore. So I'd just say I'm a little more laid back, but, you know, still have those standards.
Yeah, it was very raw back then. Like, you know, when you're, and I feel the same way. I mean, like, you know, when you're 27, 28, 29, and you're coaching a, you know, 18 or even a 21-year-old, I feel like you've almost got to like overcorrect.
Yeah.
And then as you continue, and I didn't coach, you know, I coached just a few years, but you kind of start to settle in, and then you get a little bit more disciplined, and you realize that you don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And then and I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. I mean, like, I've got incredible coaching staff here, so I don't have near as much on me as I've had in the past. I mean, these guys, they all have their roles. You know, there's much or more of our success than I lay it out there. I mean, they take it, they run with it. I don't have to worry about it. So it takes a load off of you, and then, you know, the guys feel like they have somebody they can go to that they know is a big part of it as well when you have a great coaching staff. And so I just want to give those guys a shout out.
Yeah. I want to talk about your relationship with Coach Burkett, and obviously you coached under him, and it just seems like y'all's teams every year are just y'all are on this collision course,
Right.
And I know you've got a great deal of respect for him. You all have got a friendship, but what is that like for you, just kind of mentally knowing we got to go through this gauntlet?
Yeah, well, it's tough when we play each other because we like to see each other be successful, and I pull for them when we're not playing them. Obviously, he pulls for us when we're not playing him, and we joked the first year when we met in the finals that because we talked about playing regular season game the next year, and so we said, well, there's no need to do that because we're probably going to play each other again, in the Final Four. And so, sure enough, we did.
Yeah.
And then we did it again this year. So we've kind of joked that that's kind of a regular season game, But yeah, I mean, we talked before the game this year and just talked about, if we have to meet, we'd like for it to be in the championship game. That way, whoever doesn't come out on top, you feel good for the other person. So, but yeah, got nothing but respect for Charles. And he did a great job of building this program to the point of where it was at when he left. And I think we've taken that and kind of taken it one step further, and a lot of that's because of the groundwork that he laid. So, nothing but respect for Coach Burkett and wish him the best in whatever he plans to do for sure.
In the championship game against Florence, Jarrett Fairley had 21 points. I mean, made a major contribution to the team. What has he meant to y'all's basketball?
Yeah, Jarrett's great. I mean, he's a Hoover kid. I mean, him and Salim's been playing together since they were, this tall, and they're Hoover kids, and which that's one of the things that kind of got out there that, I wonder how many of those guys are not from Hoover. Well, they're all Hoover kids. Dwayne was actually living in Hoover before he moved here to start playing in the 9th grade. So all these kids have played together growing up, and they're Hoover kids, and I think that's what makes them such a special group is, like I've had some end of the year meetings here with a couple of them here that's about to head out the door, the seniors, and they have a special bond that no matter how hard you try, you can't always get that. That bond was already there, and so we just tried to build off of it as a coaching staff, and try to make them make sure that they respect each other and all those things. But yeah, Jarrett, just the ultimate competitor, extreme toughness, and he proved that. He showed that. A lot of people try to take Dwayne and Salim away, and then we've got not only Jarrett but other guys who made big shots all year long for us. But he was incredible in those 2 games in the Final Four.
Dwayne and Salim are kind of your marquee guys, and they're up front, and everybody knows about them. But tell us something about them, both those guys, that maybe we don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been asked a couple of times about Dwayne's big old teddy bear. Like he's probably never been in a fight in his life. I mean, and that helped him on the court, ironically, because, everybody's answers try to rough him up. And so he just figured out a way not to let it get under his skin, and I'm not going to let you get to me, and I'm just going to play my game, and if I can't do it down here, I'll move my game out here. So, yeah, he's a big teddy bear. And then Salim's got a much better sense of humor than a lot of people know about. And he's a little more behind the scenes, a little sneakier with it because he's kind of a quiet guy. He doesn't really say a lot. Yeah. He's kind of, he's flatline. He don't give you
picks his spots.
He don't give you a lot of emotion, but he's got a pretty good sense of humor behind the scenes. And we're on the bus or here and out and about. You'll hear him kind of crack one every now and then. So,
losing can create a lot of problems, but also winning can create problems too. And I think that one of the challenges for you is just keeping your team up. I mean, like winning so many games in a row. There's people that have a philosophy of like, hey, it might be good to lose one, to kind of keep that motive, but you didn't, and so how do you continue to motivate your team? You mentioned we're kind of creating things to get upset about, but what are some other things that kind of kept them clicking on all cylinders?
Yeah, just as a coaching staff, we tried to focus in and not let them get complacent on certain things. And I thought there were times this year we did get complacent. Obviously we were a little more talented. Some of the teams were playing at that time, but we were just kind of focusing in on some of the things that we knew we weren't doing very well. And this group if you give them a challenge, they're going to meet it. And so that's kind of how we went about it. It was just like, hey, we're not doing very good at this this moment. So let's try to pick that up, and boom, you would see it. So it gave them something to focus on. And another good thing that I thought we did, because we were so versatile offensively, it would get kind of stale if we kept doing the same things over and over again. I mean, we had our little sets and certain things that we ran, but we tried to add. It's just like a little wrinkle to it, and that kept them interested. And so you just had to kind of know your group and play off of what kind of pulls them and pushes them, and that's one of the things is like if you give them something that, hey, we're not very good at this, well, they're going to show you that.
Yeah, areas of improvement.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I want to go inside the program a little bit. Back when I was playing, the highlight of our schedule was going across the Warrior River in a school bus to go play Dora. But things have changed now. Y'all went all the way to Alaska, to play in a classic up there. So I want to know all about that trip. Just take us through, like, start to finish. What were the memorable moments? What'd y'all do outside of playing, and you can talk about the games too. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, it came about. I mean, obviously with this group of guys, we were being pulled and being asked to be in a lot of different things, and we'd played in Florida and we'd played in the Midwest in a big tournament, and so we still had several options. But go back to Coach Burkett, they played in this the year before I got here, and they won it. And he always talked about how great a trip it was. And so I just kept holding people off for whatever reason. And then all of a sudden I get a call from them and said they want us to come back. And so I jumped on it. And so, yeah, we take the trip. I mean, now we know the Denver airport inside and out because we had a 6-hour layover going out and a 6-hour layover coming back. But yeah, we get there, incredible trip, great memories that we'll always have together. We played three basketball games there, stayed in Anchorage. Just some of the things we're walking to lunch one day and you got a mama moose and a baby moose walking right down the street, and so the guys kind of freaked out a little bit about that. And one of the days, the morning, we had some time off, so we scheduled a little excursion to kind of go out and see some things. And we get out, and I mean they're wearing their phone out on this first little mountain we get to, and then they didn't realize we had several more to go see. But and we had a little tour guide with us, so he gave us a little tour of the area and told us some things. And I mean, it's just things that guys will always remember. And then obviously we get probably the best game we've had all year long was against the team from California in the semifinals. They took us to overtime, which we knew those guys were really good, and that was one of the things when I saw they were in it, they kind of pulled us to it. But yeah, just an overall great trip, and to get a really good game out of it as well, and just make memories. I mean, those guys, they talk about those trips, all the trips we've taken. So
I mean, that's a big deal. That's a big deal for a group of high school kids to be able to go to Alaska. I mean, that is a incredible cultural experience for them to be able to do that. So
yeah, I mean, Coach Hosmer is the only person in the group that had ever been to Alaska. So none of us had ever been there before. And I'll tell you, flying out, that's the roughest flight I've ever been on. Flying out, there was a lot of looks and a lot of eyeballs, and we weren't sure we were going to make it.
Yeah,
it was pretty rough.
Yeah,
so.
did you like Anchorage?
Yeah, it was nice. It was okay. And crazy. It was colder and more snow here when we left than was there. And the guy was telling me, he said normally there's 9 to 10 feet of snow on each side of the street here, and they had basically no snow. So,
how many hours of daylight did y'all get up there? It was January.
The sun would come up about 9:30ish.
Okay,
and it would go down around like 3:30.
Now that's about the time you normally get up, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
9:30, absolutely.
10.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I roll. No, I'm up at 5, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mentioned your dad earlier. I do want to talk about your dad. I mean, and again, he's kind of one of those guys that he's always helping, he's always serving. He's kind of an unsung hero, and a good coach, a great coach. And so what have you learned from him? And don't get emotional and start crying now, but I mean, what have you learned from him as a man and as a coach?
Yeah, just to, treat people the way that you want to be treated.
Yeah.
Sorry. He means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah.
He goes with the baseball program with Pat, and you look up and he's here. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's hard for me to do this. Don't know why. Should be able to say great things about him, but just, and you know, he just, as a person, it's just special to know that someone's got your back. And he, not only me, my brother, or our family, but he's got a lot of people's back. So he's just always been that guy.
Yeah.
He's hard,
Yeah.
but he's loving.
Yeah.
So,
Man, he loves you two guys. I mean, it is evident. I mean, like, you know, just talking to him last night, and man, he was just beaming with pride for you, and for Pat too. You know, and I just think that's an incredible thing, man, to have that and have that support. So. I didn't mean to upset you at all, but I know, man.
well, I should be able to do better than that.
Well,
but
that's okay. It's your dad, man. I mean, so let's talk about some other influences. I want to know, you know, there's other men and women in your life that have been influences on you. I'm thinking probably Greg Tinker. You know, there's other people that have been, you know, influences on your life as a coach and as a person.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Greg Tinker. When I was at Walker College playing golf, I mean, I got to hang out in the gym a lot and see Coach Clem in action. I mean, got great respect for Coach Clem and the job he did there, and actually even practiced a few times because he had a bunch of guys hurt and yanked the old country boy that's a golfer and let me run around and get beat up a little bit by some of those guys. So, you know, those two guys, and you know, and I don't want to call names, but I mean, I've had really good influences, and I've had some that you learn from that's not. Another influence was the very first job I had was the assistant down at Atmore, Bob Zarn. Tough man. I mean, and his thing was defense. And I was always an offensive kind of player and never saw a shot that I didn't like. But now when I coach, like I coach the defense because I learned from him that if you'll defend somebody, you can win basketball games.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, Coach Hosmer actually handles the offense. I didn't call but like one or two plays the entire year. So I turned the offense over to him because we try to operate more like a college staff, and I coach the defense. And so Bob's arm was a very big effect on me in the way that he approached practice and the way he worked on different parts of defense. And I mean, if we practiced for 2 hours, we'd practice an hour and 45 minutes on defense, and about 15 we might shoot a little bit. So, you know, I'm not quite like that, but yeah, I mean, another big influence there. So, you know, Bubba Davis, I came back, and, you know, Bubba's a football coach, and I coached him the football staff also at Walker, but, you know, Bubba's just, he's a winner. I mean, he just, that's who he is, and he goes about things differently than a lot of people went about it. But I learned some things from him that's helped me as a head coach in how you approach people and the way you kind of deal with certain things. So.
You know, and it's good to have those kind of people around the athletic program that you can kind of pull from a little bit. And if you need to go ask a question like, you know, how do you handle this? Or, you know, especially as a young coach, like,
absolutely.
That was tough for me being at Bevel. I was really the only coach on campus, and not to make excuses or anything like that, but it's just good to have another. I'm sure Oates, you know, when Saban was there, he was gleaning stuff off of Saban, and DeBoer is doing that. So it's good to have good people around you in the athletic department.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, well, I mean, I've got a great athletic department here. I mean, we've got head coaches that are successful at everything, and I try to pull from them and talk to them, and we've got a good AD. That does a great job. He supports us, and so the support staff here is incredible. And so you've always got someone you can go to bounce ideas off of.
What's on your wish list? Let's change gears just a little bit. What's on your wish list coming up? I mean, you're still a young guy. I mean, you're what, 35 or you?
Plus 18. 17, whatever. I'm not good at math. But.
So if you're looking into the future and there's some bucket list items, this could be anything. It could be travel. It could be working an NBA summer camp. It could be what's kind of some, you know, learning to play piano. I have no idea. But what are some things that you want to do?
Well, it's funny you say that because I teach driver's ed. And so I was just telling the kid the other day, I wish I would have learned to play an instrument. So that could be something, a guitar or a piano. I think it'd be very relaxing to sit around and do that. One of the things I've always wanted to do was go, you know, over to play St. Andrews, play the old golf course. You know, I'm a golfer, so that's something I've always wanted to do is go over there and play those courses. And so that's a bucket list item for sure. either Pebble Beach or something like that.
Yeah.
So it probably has something to do with the golf course.
Yeah,
more than likely.
yeah.
So.
Now you grew up playing Twin Lakes and Airhead and Walker
Absolutely.
County, so I mean that'd be you really
Comparable.
about the same. I mean,
Comparable, yeah.
very similar. I want to know, going back to basketball for just a minute, if you can say one thing, just one thing that was the key to having a successful program. I mean, y'all have won 3 in a row. You've built a culture here, you've built a program here, but if you had to say one thing that was the key.
Consistency.
From
Just be consistent in the way you go about your business.
From a coach's standpoint, from a player's standpoint, leadership standpoint?
I think from a leadership coach's standpoint, they appreciate consistency. Like back to some of the meetings we've had with some of these seniors, I mean, they're just say, Coach, just keep holding everybody to that standard. Like, kids want to be coached. They want to be held to a certain standard. They don't want you to just let them do whatever they want to. And that's proof by them saying that. But we just try to be consistent. I mean, we try to be consistent with our calendar, the way we practice, the way we go about it. We keep up with it, and we try to do the same things throughout the year the same way. Because, why would we change? It's been very successful, and that's what we try to do. So, just holding people to the standard and being very consistent with the way you go about it, I think is the way you establish the way your program is going to be viewed by not only other coaches that come in to help, but also the players that are coming into it.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking before we came on, we've known each other such a long time, and it's almost like I don't even remember when I met you.
Right.
It's like we've just known each other for so long, and I would probably trace that back to like Little League baseball or something like that.
I'm sure
when you were
it was.
playing.
Sure.
We just always known each other, but you're proud to be from Sipsey. That's where you grew up. That you're proud to be from there.
Yeah.
But what was it about, Sipsey, and you can even broaden that to Jasper and Walker County, that the lessons that you learned from that period of time in your life that you're still carrying today?
Yeah, just treating people the way you want to be treated. I mean, we had a tight group growing up there in Sipsey, and still talk to some of those guys to this day, and had very good coaches. You talked about my dad. You talked Mike Harris was one of our coaches, and we just was always around sports, and that's why when I'm doing something that's not here with the sport that I coach, it's usually something sports related because that's just what we did. There's always a ball game in the yard or a tackle football game or something, and very proud to be from Sipsey. When people ask, I don't say Jasper, I say Sipsey. So like I said, just treating people the way you want to be treated. And that's kind of the way we handle things there. And if somebody stepped out of line, you might get bopped in the nose because that's what happened.
There was a toughness down there. The other thing too that I remember, there was a ball field down there, and from what I remember, like it was almost like a dead ball era, size ball field. It was like 440 to dead center. Is that right?
It might have been a 455.
Yeah.
I think.
Anybody that claimed that they hit it out on that field is. But that's what you grew up in.
Claim was the word.
Yeah, claim. Well, man, I'm just so happy for you, and I'm just tickled to death that y'all have had the success that y'all have had, and we're real proud of what you're doing, and it's just been an amazing thing, and we want to just continue to celebrate your success. I appreciate your time today, and I appreciate your friendship, man.
Well, same here. Appreciate you being here, and you always got my number if you ever need me.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
And that's a wrap. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Talegate Podcast. And in the meantime, connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. We'll see you next time.